Hi guys, welcome to another edition of The Big Shift. And I have to say, guys, we've only been going a few months and we've got our first 1 million views. I've got an unbelievable story for you today. Has been said to be the mob boss of Hollywood. This is a guy who knew people like Meyer Lansky, Frank Sinatra, even latter day people like Wycliffe, Naomi Campbell. Some really good content coming, guys. Next. Hi guys, welcome back to The Big Shift. Got a wonderful story for you today. A former mob boss of Hollywood who got some unbelievable content. We're going to get right into that. Well, first I have to just say thank you guys for all the wonderful subscribers. We've hit 1 million views now. We've only been up a few months. We're going to keep getting all the guys here and some wonderful stories. Thank you for that. And just a quick one also is I've got my new book coming out soon in Justice, Love and Honor. Going to be massive, guys. We'll get back to that more and I'll tell you more about that as we're going on. Let's get straight into it. Today, my guest is Ori Spado over in Hollywood. How are you, Ori? Thanks for coming on.
And how are you, my friend? They call you Stephen or Stephen?
Stephen is fine. Stefano, of course. Stephen is fine. Thank you. Look, it's wonderful to have you here. We've been speaking. I've been reading a lot of content about your life. Thanks for coming on. Let's get straight into it. You're over in Beverly Hills now still, Ollie, are you? Is that
I'm in Beverly Hills right now as we speak, yes.
Fantastic. Well, look, they claim for you to be a boss of Hollywood. You're not a main man, but I know, I've looked at your history and I know you're closely aligned to Sonny Franzese in the Colombo family. Do you want to tell me how your journey towards people like John Franzese started?
Well, before I met Sonny Franzese, I actually had met Frank Costello, Meyer Lansky, Carlo Marcello, Russell Buffalino, just to name a few. But in 1978 or 79 it was, I was involved in the automobile after-sale business. And there was a company called Pyle. We were worldwide. And the owner of the company was getting death threats. And he was very nervous about it. I told him, don't worry, nobody's going to call you up. All right, it's bullshit. And I went through that with him for like 3 times. And then we were in New York at Club 21 having lunch with the biggest Cadillac dealer at the time, Victor Potonkin. And he went to call his office. He comes back. He's white as a ghost. And I was living at my condo in Florida at the time. He says, kid, I know you're wired in. There's got to be some truth to this. He said, I just got another call. Stay over. So I stayed over. I called my friend Lou Perry. Lou Perry was a casting director, and he's the guy who discovered Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis. And told him the story. He called me back. He said, I'm going to pick you up at 7 o'clock. And he brought me to a restaurant on 2nd Avenue, Trattoria Siciliana. And that's the first time that I ever met Sonny Franzese. And he was there with his wife, Christina, his daughter Tina, his daughter Gia, and his son Johnny. He has a stepson, Michaelfranzese, that everybody is well aware of.
I get that. Thanks for that. So what was the meeting about? I mean, I'm just trying to really get to it, Ori, so the viewers understand, because
the meeting was my friend is getting these death threats. We don't know where they're coming from. Okay. Has to have something to do with the automotive industry, which Sonny was heavily involved in also. And his son Michael had dealerships at the time. And Sonny said he would check into it. We had an unforgettable dinner because I got violently ill. I got something I ate went wrong. But anyway, long story short, I went back to Florida. I packed up to move back to New York because I had to handle the 5 boroughs and get things in order for Walter. And when I got back, there was a meeting at the Russian Tea Room. Me and my friend Frank Russo had to go in, met with Sonny, and we had to sit down. I had to go get Walter Fifeson, and I brought Walter. We all sat. And those days, when you walked in the Russian Tea Room, first booth on the left was Sonny Franzese. First booth on the right was Jacqueline Kennedy's. Jacqueline Onassis Kennedy. But this was before the restaurant opened. We had a sit down. And during that sit down, I spoke up about something. And when you're in a sit down, you're not supposed to speak until spoken to. And Sonny shut me up right away, trust me. With the coldest eye you ever wanted to see in your life. But he sided with us. Sonny sided with us, and it happened to be this Stepson Michael who was making the threats because they were stealing warranties from the bottom of the pile and selling an inferior product out in Long Island and calling it polymicro. Needless to say, we wanted to sit down. When we walked outside that restaurant, Sonny grabbed me by the arm, walked me to the corner of Broadway and 57th, and he says, "Kid," he says, "I like you. You got balls." He says, "From now on, you're with me, and I want you and your family in my home for Christmas." And that began a over 40-year friendship with Sonny.
Okay. So back in the days, Meyer Lansky, for instance, I mean, I'm talking to his grandson now. The film's coming out soon. So I'm going to be talking to his grandson. You know, I mean, he died when Meyer was, he was 26 when his grandfather died. So we're going to be going there very, very soon. But you met Meyer Lansky?
Yes. I met Meyer Lansky. Used to stay at the Warwick Hotel, and where I stayed, I always had a suite, and he had the suite above me. And he was there with his dog. He just happened to be at the same time that gambling was just getting approved in Atlantic City. So he was there, and he and I became acquainted with each other. And in the evenings, I would walk with him. We'd walk his dog down 54th to 5th, make a left, go to 57th, up and out right around. And we did that every night that he was there. And he was a very intelligent guy, one of the nicest guys you ever wanted to meet. But, you know, like all of us guys, we're all the nicest guys you want to meet. You know that, okay? You know, we don't mess with people unless they mess with us.
Yeah.
And, you know, so, yeah, so, you know, it's funny, you're doing his grandson. I got to tell you a story. Many years ago here in Hollywood, everybody was trying to do the Meyer Lansky story. Now, my friend Ralph Serpi, who was friends with Jimmy Blue Eyes, okay, was trying to do it. Another wise guy here in Los Angeles had somebody else in trying to do the Meyer Lansky. Then a friend of mine, a vice president of Universal, was trying to do it, and he was with John Gotti. And then I had a guy in Florida, and I think he was talking to the grandson or some relation to Meyer and talking to me. And I'm saying, I got the guy. Long story short, Ralph Serpi gets called into the FBI. Now, Ralph's son-in-law is Greg Evigan. Greg Evigan is a very fine actor. He did BJ and the Bear, My Two Dads, several TV shows he's been on. And I was partners with him on another situation. But Ralph gets called in the FBI, and he gets back that night, and he calls me up. He said, "You got to come see me." And so I went to see him. "What's up?" He said, "The FBI called me in." He says, "This whole thing with the Meyer Lansky thing," he said, "they want to know where I'm getting my information from." He said, "But the first name that came out was Ori Spado. How do you know Ori Spado?" He said, "I told him that you're just a friend. What do you know about Ori Spado?" "Ori Spado's just a friend." And then they went on. A few other questions, then come back. "Ori Spado, did you know he's friends with Sonny Franzese?" And Ralph came up. "I don't know who Sonny Franzese is." And so Ralph got nervous because my name popped up more than anybody else's in that conversation. And he got very nervous. He said, "Look, we'll always be friends." He said, "But you can't be partners with my son-in-law anymore." He said, "I don't want you getting caught and have some paperwork in the car." But that's how that went down. Needless to say, it never got made, but now it is made. Huh? And my son just sent me the reel the other day on that there.
So, you know, you met a lot of guys. You met Sinatra, Frank Sinatra. Did you meet Frank?
I met Frank several times.
Tell us a story about Frank, how you met him, and what your relationship was with him. All right.
You know, you got to understand, things intertwine in different ways. You know what I mean? I met him actually with Jimmy Conchi. See, you read my book, all right? The underboss of Los Angeles and the boss of Palm Springs, California was Jimmy Conchi. So he was Sonny's counterpart out here. So Jimmy and I were very close friends. We did a lot together. I mean, Jimmy would come up from Palm Springs on Monday morning, and he'd stay with me until Friday and then go back. Well, I mean, we made a lot of money. But Jimmy was a very unique individual. Where the hell was I going now? What was the question?
Frank Sinatra.
Frank Sinatra. Oh, yeah. Jimmy's brother was Bobby Milano. And he was a singer, married to Keely Smith. His real name was Charlie Kachi. And, you know, of course, you know, they were into, you know, taking action on gambling. And Frank had a little situation one time where he lost $500,000. And it was, you know, normally it's not a big deal, but I met him down in the desert. And then on Sunday nights, Frank was always at Maddie's restaurant over here on Westwood Boulevard. And on Sunday night, that was the place to go. Ronald Reagan would be there with his wife, Nancy. Everybody was there. And Frank wasn't allowed to smoke at the table in the dining room with his wife. His wife would not allow him to smoke. He couldn't even smoke in his own home. He had to go on the back porch. But me and Frank had a lot of conversation, and I sit at the bar and smoke. And yeah, he was a great guy. And, you know, Sonny did a big favor for his son many years ago back in New York. So, you know, the whole thing, like, you know, we knew the same people. So, you know, we were cool with each other. He was a gentleman, nice guy. I have nothing bad to say about him.
Yeah, voice like an angel.
Yeah.
Dean Martin. You met him too, Ori. Tell us the story about him.
Dean was a wonderful guy. It was really too bad about his son because that really, really wrecked him. You know, his son was a pilot and crashed in the mountains down here in Southern California. And that really destroyed Dean. But Dean was had dinner every night at La Familia restaurant on Cannon Drive. We were there all the time. In fact, I got some pictures around and my son can't find them. I never got involved and took pictures with anybody. You know, it was just not a thing that I ever did. But we took pictures with my son and Dean and so forth. Dean was a swell guy. And actually, that's who paid the $500,000 that Frank Sinatra owed, because Frank couldn't tell his wife about it. So Dean paid it, and then somehow Frank was able to pay Dean back. Yeah.
Yeah. So look, you've been known as a fixer, Orly, over there in Hollywood. I've got some friends there, right? You know, I know the industry, but tell us, you know, I've got some names, there's names here, Naomi Campbell, we got Wycliffe, we got some other stuff. Tell us some of the things that come to mind that are kind of celebrities that you've helped in the modern day.
Right. Yeah, I've helped several of them. Okay. There was a very big, well-known name action movie star. That some producers were holding up $2 million of his money. It was at an agency. I had to sit down with the producers, talk about it, resolve the issue. I got his money released.
Suge Knight? Is this Suge Knight we're talking about?
Who?
Suge Knight?
No, Suge Knight's another story. All right, I'll tell you about Suge. Okay. And my best mate, and probably the best people, and I say this in all my interviews if you ever heard me, okay? I got more admiration, more love and respect for the guys over there in London, okay? And I began there with a gentleman named Joey Pyle.
I know Joe very, very well, and his son.
You did time, right?
Yeah, I was away with Joe, and I'll tell you just a little story about Joe, you know, because we mentioned his name. I mean, he's gone now, rest his soul, but I know his son, Joe, very well.
His son's like my third son.
Yeah, ask Joe about me, young Joe. But I can remember when I was doing my big sentence, I'd done a big sentence. I was cat A and all this stuff, and you know, I was in Whitemore, and I got into a kind of a scrape there. It was a do or die thing. It was one of them things where I was butting heads with someone, and it was getting very serious. But, you know, I remember Joe, he was always there, and he calmed that down, you know, and he sorted that out in a much better way. You know, that was the kind of man that Joe was. You know, he had immense respect, and, you know, I always remembered him from that, because he took the time. Because I was a young kid, really, then
yeah,
going up. But he always took that time for me, and that was the kind of man Joey Pyle was, right?
Yeah. I met Joey through Danny Sims. Danny Sims is, you know who Danny was?
Yeah.
He owned the first publishing on Bob Marley. And Danny, when he was out here in California, I was his guy. When he was in New York, Joe Piney was his guy. And when he was in London, Joey Pyle was his guy. So Mark Morrison, Return of the Mac, got out of prison. And, you know, he was a brawler. He was barred from all the clubs out there in London. And went to Joey, and Joey, they signed him up. Joey got him to go back in the clubs, and they had a deal with Warner Brothers. So they were sending Mark over here to go to the studio. And that's when I met them. Him and Danny got on the phone. They called me, asked me if I would oversee Mark while he was here. I said, certainly I would do it. And when Mark got here, my son Anthony and I, who's in this picture back there, all right, because Anthony was closer to his age, we went over, it was the Mondrian. I met Mark, and my son went to the studio with him and so forth, and everything went good. But Joey and I, for some reason, it was like we became instant brothers. We both thought a lot alike. We both handled problems alike. We both felt you can get more done without a gun than, you know, you get more done with your brain. And we were talking on the phone until my first trip there. I swear to God, 4 or 5 times a day. And Joe would be in a pub always. And he put everybody in that pub on the phone with me. And by the time I got to London, everybody knew who the hell I was. But Joe, and we went to London several times. Joe came here only once. One time he got turned around at LAX and go back to London. And then the other time he came in through Memphis into Las Vegas. That's when I was doing a Wycliffe concert. Came in with a whole crew of guys. And there was a situation here in this country they wanted me to handle. And Joey had to go to each room. All the guys had the money. You know, he had to collect the money from everybody. Then he come and he gave me all these fucking pounds. Now I had to go to different cages in the casino, me and my son, cash it in American dollars. And, but Joe got married there. That's where he got married. My friend Francesca arranged that there. Unfortunately, things went upon on that marriage. But yeah, through Joey. And, you know, if you go in my book, and I was just going, okay, this is before Joey passed away. Okay, a picture of me with Joey, a picture of me, my son with him. There's another picture of me, famed film producer, director, John Daly. I don't know why I know all you guys in London, but you guys are the best.
I can see that. I can see that.
John Daly was, you know, he's a two-time Best Picture of the Year. Producer, he did Platoon, several others, and those pictures was just before Joey passed away. And Joey Jr., there were fights at Caesars, so we were all there. You know how Caesars is over there, and Joey was in a wheelchair by that time, and. But I'll never forget when Joey Jr. fought and his father watched him. I was watching his father. I was watching Joe Sr. And he was so proud. It was just an amazing evening. And it was shortly after that there that he ended up, I know we raised money, I was trying to get him stem cells and so forth, but it was shortly after that trip, and I was probably one of the last people Joey Jr. put me on the phone when Joey Sr. was in the hospital there and Joey passed away. I love Joey closer than you could imagine.
Joe was a legend here.
Yeah.
You know, he really was. And yeah, you know, I'm good friends with him, old Joe, you know, certainly all them guys in that era as well. A lot of them around Joe, certainly, and younger Joe. Tell us a little bit about. Thanks for that, by the way, Wally. Tell us a bit about Suge Knight, because you got him his money back. Is that right?
Suge Knight, yeah. Okay, there was a gentleman in the record business from London named Ron Winters.
Ron Winters, yeah.
You know Ron?
I don't know him, but you know the story. Tell us what happened.
Well, I had an overstock of videos from Universal, and Joey hooked me up with Ron Winters, and Ron Winters was one of the best bullshitters I've ever met. Okay, he wanted to buy him. We agreed on a price, and he's going to wire the money. He called him and said, "I wired the money." I said, "Okay, it should be here." I called my bank. It's not there. Ron, where you wire to? Ron, I gave you my information. This goes on for a couple of weeks. It don't take 2 fucking weeks for a wire to come from London. But he had more excuses, and for a while you would believe it. I had to go to the Bank of London and the Bank of New York and all this bullshit. And turned out he was just bullshitting. Ron was good at that. And I was really freaking livid. And when Ron would come into town here, he would never, have his name on the register of the hotel, so nobody would know what hotel he's at. But a producer friend of mine came to me one day and said, "Oh, I got a meeting with this guy, Ron Winters, at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel." I said, really? Ron Winters from London? He says, yeah. I said, okay, now listen to me. Here's what I'm going to do. I said, I'm going to be there. You go have your meeting. You come down. You tell me what fucking room he's in. I said, I'm going to come up. I'm going to throw that fucker out the window. I was livid. So I'm at the fucking bar waiting for this guy. But Suge Knight happened to be there. So my producer friend tells Suge, Ori Spado was downstairs. He's going to throw this fucking guy out the window. So Suge came down, and that's the first time I ever met Suge. And he came to me and he asked me, he said, please, do me a favor. He said, this guy owes me a lot of money. He says, don't do anything. He said, you and I make money a different way. He said, consider a personal favor. I said, okay, sure. And with a little while later, we exchanged phone numbers. He called me. I went to his studio. And Ron Winters, he had given Ron the distribution rights for Death Row Records for England.
Records, yeah.
For England.
Yeah.
But Ron was distributing all over fucking Europe. I could say fuck on this, right? And sure, millions of dollars. So he came to me. I got Joey on the phone. And Joey and Senior and Junior, they handled it. And we made a deal with Suge that we'll collect the money, but we will do it less than what we normally ask. We'll do it for 10%. Normally we would take half when you collect money. But we do it for 10%, but we would see that Suge got his money every month. And we would put an accountant in Winter's office and all that there. So we got him the first $1 million. When the first $1 million hit Suge's bank, Suge was back in prison. But he called his lawyer, had $100 grand wired in my account. I sent half to Joey in London. And so now I was really in close touch with his office. I knew everybody there. And I got Joey, supposedly Joey Jr. and my son Anthony were put on the visiting list to go visit Suge in prison. And Joey Jr. flew out here. I was in New York at the time. Him and my son, they're like brothers. Okay. They had to fly up to Northern California, rent a car, drive for an hour to get to this prison Suge was at. And when they get there, guess what? They're not on the freaking visiting list. So we only collected the first $1 million. That was it. But Suge and I became close friends after that there.
So he got his monthly payments, sorry, right? He gets his monthly payments. You know, and this, of course, you know, Suge Knight, this was Tupac, Death Row Records. Did you ever discuss Tupac and what happened that night with them, with Suge Knight?
No, I would never discuss that.
Mm.
No, it's not. As you know, it's not an issue. You know, me and Suge met at the Four Seasons all the time. You know, we never discuss. One thing he wanted to discuss, because I happen to know a little bit about it, was when he got shot in the leg in Florida. Okay. In reference to who did it, why they did it, and so forth. And he was pissed off because I knew a lot of the people, you know what I mean? And then he was a little pissed off, not much, but because I tried to help Ariel, Michael Harris's wife. Okay, Danny Sims brought her to me because, you know, Michael Harris is the guy that put the money up for Death Row Records. And he just got released from prison finally after all this time.
Yeah. So you talked about that. So what did he say about the shooting? Did he say anything about the shooting we can discuss?
About the what shooting?
About getting shot in the leg. Is there anything you can tell us about that? We can speak about?
Well, he told me, he said, I know it was a friend of yours. You know, I says, look at it. I says, you realize it was a warning shot. I said, leave it at that there, because you still hair shot. It was just a warning shot.
Well, look, let's so Sonny Franzese. Now, I know Michael. I've interviewed Michael, right? So
you know Michael?
I've interviewed Michael. Yeah, I know Michael, but look, I know a lot of people. You know, same as you. But I wanted to ask you, look, you know, now we've never discussed you, you know, or anything like that. I mean, I'm very busy. We're all very busy. You know, I interviewed Michael, right? So what do you think about Michael? I know a few things, you know, has made you furious about stuff that has gone on. And I mean, I watched one interview, Ori, right, where he said you didn't know his father. What do you say to that? What do you say to that?
I fucking laugh at it. I laugh at it. You know, he knows I know his father. Michael knows what I know. Michael knows what I know. Look, I was friends with his father for over 40 years. I was talking to Sonny before his death, just days before he passed away. Okay? I wanted to go visit him. He wanted me to come back. I mean, we had really deep conversations, he and I. There was a particular situation. He says, I know you were away, this guy, and you got to tell me, you know, not that I was going to tell him anything. Okay? Because just the way I was, I figure if I told him something, that makes me a rat. You follow me? If I talk about somebody else. So I never did that, which used to piss Sonny off. You know, because he used to tell everybody, you guys got to tell me everything. You know, if you know Stephen's doing this, you got to come tell me. I wouldn't go to that there. That makes me a fucking rat. Okay?
And look, one thing I have to say, Ori, look, me personally, I've done over 20 years, category A, high-risk category A, as well as with some people that you know there. I was released category A, that, you know, I never got nothing, no favors. I never wanted no favors. That was never me. I was never brought up like that. Me, my family. I come out, of course, I changed my life, you know, against that life. You know, I'm a peace ambassador now. But I never broke the rules of that life for what I was taught. You know, that's me personally. Now,
Well,
look,
we're the same way. We're the same way. I went away.
Look, yeah, absolutely. That, look, you know, I've interviewed a lot of guys, you know, and I like some of these guys, and I know the life, there's so much different stuff. But look, I want to ask you, you know, and there's different stuff that goes on, and there's a lot of stuff behind, and, you know, everyone's at everyone and all this stuff these days. The life is completely different. But I wanted to ask you, because I know with you, you know, you've said it publicly, I don't like rats and all this and this and that. You know, you even said about Michael. What is your view of that? You know, tell
Michael?
me.
Michael?
Yeah. Give us your view on Michael and just, yeah.
Look, one thing I'm going to say in Michael's defense, Michael's a very intelligent guy. Always has been. Okay? He could have gone, you know, to school, become a doctor, which he initially wanted to do. Michael could have done that there. Okay? And, you know, you got to understand who Sonny Franzese was. Everybody wants to see the underboss, but Sonny Franzese was actually treated like a boss, okay? Like he was the boss. Sonny was one powerful guy. And he told me everything. I know everything about Michael, all right? And then, you know, somebody was close to Michael that ended up in prison because of Michael. Was out here in California, and he and I became very close friends. And so I know a lot about Michael. I know the people who went away because of him, okay? And at this point, I don't care. You follow me? It don't make a difference to me, okay? We had a little heated things going back on Vlad, on the interviews. And then one day I said to myself, what the fuck am I getting doing this shit? This, first of all, that's not how Ori Spado is. I just don't say nothing. So I did a video. I don't know if you saw it. It's on my YouTube. And it's not that I do a lot on YouTube, but it's on there where I just did a video that I ended the feud with Michael. And I'm not going to say anything bad about him. And I will keep that word on that there, you know. And I wish him all the best on what he does. And that's it. You know, people could believe him or not believe him. All right. I know that people believe me. But, you know, there's no sense of getting any arguments here. Nobody's going to win anything from it.
Absolutely. Look, thanks for that, right? You know, you're a proper man. The thing is not to hide with this stuff, is ask a question, you know, and just answer it. And that's it. But, you know, absolutely, there's no, you know, I mean, I know Michael, very intelligent guy, right? You know, and look, you know, I mean, who am I? You know, I'm not here to judge no one, Ori, right? You know, I interview a lot of guys, you know, and they tell me a lot of stuff, you know, and, you know, I like a lot of these guys, you know, I'm very straight. You know, I told you my story, right?
You're a good interviewer too.
Yeah, you know, I don't hide around corners or anything like that. I'm very straight. It is what it is. I don't break my values. People are entitled to their opinion, right? You know, who am I? I mean, that's it, you know. They're going to make up their own mind anyway, or you know that, right?
That's right.
Absolutely. So look, you know, the thing is here is that the life really changed. You know, we go back to John Gotti, these kind of times, you know, Rico, the 5 families where the bosses was indicted and everything started to crumble, you know, after that point. You know, the Trafficante family, for instance, you know, there were so many people there was going against each other. But if someone, so there are other things going on here, but what is your view about the life now, about how it's changed from what you would have known back in the days of Sonny Franzese? These were these historic days with historic people like that.
Well, back in the historic times, okay, if somebody became an informant, they were found, all right, with cut from their throat down to their spleen, and their guts were put on their abdomen, okay, to never spill their guts on the mafia. 1963, when they developed the WITSEC program, 62, 63, somewhere along there, it all changed, okay? And it changed drastically. I did a little reading, I do a little study about this here, and over 19,000 people are under the witness protection program. Now they only pay them for a while. It's not a whole lot of money, you know, and so forth, and that worked well. But things have changed so much that nobody even goes on the WITSEC program no more. They're living right back in their neighborhoods back there in Brooklyn, Queens, okay? They'll go, testify, get on a stand, and they go home, and nothing's happening. So the whole thing is changed, you know? And Michael and I, go back to Michael for a minute, he did start writing me on Facebook Messenger. We went back and forth, and shit, that was over a year ago, I think. All right, and he was up in Napa Valley, and he said, we'll get together and so forth when I get back. I said, hey, you got my number. We'll sit down. Obviously, he has not ever called me. But, you know, I'm into different things, Steve. You know, people ask me to do podcasts. I'd rather be interviewed than being the interviewer, number one. Number two, I'm out of the gangster life. Okay, there's other things that I'm more involved in at this point in my life. In my book, in the epilogue, the last paragraph of my book, okay, I ask for everybody to join hands together, and together we can make this world a better place.
Absolutely.
And I'm doing things. I want to help feed the hungry, in the United States alone, you know, everybody says we're the biggest country, the wealthiest country, all that bullshit. We got 53 million people that go to bed every night starving. Okay? That's just one area of what I'm working in. I joined forces with Food for the Food Finders out of Long Beach, California. They've been in business for over 30 years. I'm going to be spokesman for them, all right, and an advocate for them to raise more money and try to spread that throughout the country to help more people. I'm also a big advocate on the laws in this country. The RICO Act, for example, which is illegal and unconstitutional, but it's never gotten to the Supreme Court yet, okay? And we got a lot of people locked up in prison that are going to die in prison. This should not be in this country. You've got minimum mandatory sentencing guidelines. I did a minimum mandatory sentence on a 924C gun charge. It was 60 months. When my judge sentenced me, I signed a plea agreement for 97 months. But he only gave me 62. He gave me 60 days on the robbery charge. But then he said, and it's in my transcripts, Mr. Spado, on the 924C gun charge, my hands are tied by Congress. I have to give you 60 months on that. Your sentence is 62 months. Why is our Congress telling judges what they got sentenced people to? Because back in the old days, all right, the judge would have probably released me on time served. I'd already been there for 30 months.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But Congress and who's passing these bills, I'm involved with some prison reform groups and, you know, a whole lot of things. So I just really, there'll be an article coming out in the Los Angeles Tribune magazine next month. I'm on the front cover. From accidental gangster to accidental humanitarian. So I'm more involved in those type of things, getting laws changed and helping the underdog in a much more better way than the old days.
This is, Ori, this is wonderful, you know, and you know with me, you know, I would never condone their life. My story is out there. They're making a film of it. I'm a peace ambassador. I was nominated for International Peace Prize. Look, I want to show you this because I have to, and it's the right thing. You see this here? This is, I was gifted this, right? You know, it's beautiful. It's solid silver, but it's not about that. It's called an intention stick. Now, these are from two beautiful friends of ours, beautiful souls in Arizona, all right? And this comes off, yeah, you know, and inside are three words, and you put your intention: oneness, love, compassion, success, health, all of these things, and you can change them, but you put three in there, and it's about living a life of intention. Now, these people, my friends, they've done work with the Pope. They've stayed at Windsor Castle with the Queen. It's really this big, you know, and our thing is to give, you know, we certainly want everyone to live a positive life of intention, but certainly to give every children one of these so they can be reminded that they are, you know, a part of, not apart from, and that
Right.
they are all worthy to live a life of positive intention. We're doing everything. There are hundreds of thousands of these have gone out already. They're, you know, in all different things, but the concept is the same. You know, that everyone can have one to be reminded, and something wonderful happens with these. So look, you know, I'll just put that in there because it's such a beautiful thing, and it's definitely about getting this out to the world. And we're doing so much behind the scenes with many great projects like this, and to get this out, really, you know. And so thank you for just bearing with me for putting that one out. And I wanted to ask you, because on the big shift, it is what it says. It's the big shift. Yes, people, they want the blood and guts and they want the tough stuff. It's part of the journey. But I always say you can't know true light without having traveled the darkness. They
Right.
are, you know, it's a duality here, right? We fall down and we get back up. Now, you know, I know you've lived a life. You know, I know some of the people you know you older than me, more experienced than me. Looking back now, you know, seeing the wonderful things that you're doing now, well done for that. What do you say about this life and all of this stuff that went on now?
You know, Steve, and I thank you for that question. People ask me that all the time. People ask me if I were able to change anything, would I? And my answer to that is no, I would not. That what I done was my destiny. I own it. I own it. It's me. I take full responsibility for all the good, the bad, and the ugly I did. It was nobody else's fault. It was mine. I take full responsibility. I own it. And I think everything led me to what I'm doing today. Okay? Because if I didn't do all those, I wouldn't be able to be doing what I'm doing today to help people, to help young men change their lives, all right, to get an education or a trade, all right, and not get involved in a life of crime. I've helped several young men do that there. I'm going to be talking in the school systems about that there. So my heart, my mind, and my soul are all in different places now. Did I have good friends? Yes, I did. Are they still my friends? Yes, they are. I get a lot of calls from people in New York. But they're courtesy calls now, and they appreciate what I'm doing. But I let them all know when I got out of prison, I'm out of that. Okay, you're my friend. I love you. That's it. I'm not doing no criminal acts, anything. And if I could leave a mark, a legacy on this earth when I leave it, I plan on outliving Sonny, by the way. Okay, told him I'm going to live to 105.
Wow. Listen, Michael told me, and you know, what a life, what a man, right? And you know, all of them years, you know, I mean, even we see there, he was the longest, well, the oldest guy in the federal penitentiary, federal system to be released. I think it was 100 or something the last time they let him out. Was he? Is that right?
He went in 90 something. I was on that indictment with him, by the way. Okay, so I think that answers the question whether I knew Sonny or not. My name's right there on that RICO indictment. So that answers the question whether I knew Sonny or not. So there's no dispute there. Yeah, Sonny, 103 years old he was. And I'm going to tell you, his mind was sharp as a tack up to days before he passed away.
Wow.
Okay. His mind was sharp as a tack. I'm telling you, it was unbelievable. You know, he said, buddy, you gotta come back, buddy. You gotta visit me. You gotta talk, you know. I said, Sonny, they're not gonna allow me. He said, you know how to sneak in there. You know how to do it. And I wasn't going to sneak. I was not going to be the person responsible to violate Sonny Franzese at the age of 103, because they would have thrown him back in prison.
Yeah.
Okay. And I was not going to be the one.
Not going to be the person. Not going to be the one to be doing that.
So I called his probation officer, and she was a lovely lady, his new PO that he had. I told her who I was. She said, I know who you are, Mr. Spado. I said, look at. He's 103. I'm 70. I was 75 then. I said, I'm 75. We're not going to go on, do nothing. I just want to come back, have a lunch with my friend or a dinner. That's it. And she said, I have to talk with my supervisor. And she called me back the next day and she says, Mr. Spado, my supervisor said, no, you cannot. You've been friends with him for over 40 years and you were on the same indictment with him. You have to wait until he gets off in June. And unfortunately, he didn't make it to June. So.
Such a shame. I mean, yeah. I know with Michael, when I was talking to Michael, he said it was so nice to have Dad home, but they kept taking him back, right? This is what these people do. You know what it's like over here too, Ori, right? It's crippling. I mean, this is the thing of, to get people to, live a better life for them, not for anyone else, but for them. So they can be more safer, more abundant, more successful in other ways because, so many of these guys that we knew, they was talented. I'll say all the time, they could have done anything. They could have been anything they would have put their hand to, most of them.
Most of them I know were very intelligent. Could have ran the largest corporations in America. Yeah, they could have, no question about it. You got to understand how sharp you got to be able to sit down and handle a sit down. Okay, you know what a sit down is. You got to determine who's right and who's wrong. Okay, and somebody's life could be in the balance there. So you got to make a right decision. And it's a very crucial thing, and a dummy cannot make it. And I told Michael one thing, and people ask me, when Michael wrote his first book, he wrote something, there's something in there, I'd have to look it up to see exactly, about being made and then you're put under somebody that might not be able to freaking read or write, all right? And now you got to answer to that guy. And if he calls you at 4 a.m., okay, that's one of the things. And I told Michael in an interview why I never took my button. I was proposed in New York. Sonny wanted to propose me. I fucking argued with him. Jimmy Kachi, we came within minutes and I got out of it. I did not want that. My family comes first. My children come first.
I think that's very wise. Of course. Ori, look, it's been a real pleasure talking to you. Really, it has, and, do you want to say about some of the stuff that you're doing? Your book, you got a new book coming out?
My book is out. The soft cover just became available last week. Really, it's a good looking book. I've done very well with it. It's available on my website, theaccidentalgangster.com. What I'm doing right now, anybody that goes to my website, purchases the book, I'm giving them the free audio book. So they'll get that right away. And of course, it's available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and other places. And today I should have the first draft of a TV film that they're making off of the book. So that's coming in today. I have good people involved, A-list. So we'll see. So things are positive, and I'm very happy, and I'm still here, Stephen, as you are there. You still got dark hair too.
Just about, I must say, just about. But look, really, thank you very much. I wish you very well on your journey. We're going to talk some more as well on the phone there, about some stuff. Really, some really positive stuff. And look, wish you very well. God bless. Thanks for coming on.
God bless you, Steve. Thanks for having me, buddy.
Thanks for tuning in, guys, to a wonderful new segment of The Big Shift with Stephen Gillen. Make sure to subscribe, go into stephengillen.com and sign up for more wonderful content to expedite, help, and support you on your own personal journey of success.